Hello, and welcome back to Wellywood Wargaming. My name is Damon, and in this episode we're heading back to Necromunda to take a look at the big, dumb, slow-witted, lovable guys in Necromunda, the Ogryns. Now, before I get into this properly, this is the last, actually, in the entire series of sort of gang list builds, I suppose. I'm up to date on it anyway, this is the last one. I've done a gang guide for Ogryns as well, so you can go and check that out if you haven't seen that already. That was last year, though. So this is a more up-to-date sort of video, I suppose, on the Ogryns. But I know that many of you have been asking for this, so I thought I'd save the best till last to some degree. The last one I did was Corpse Grinders. We're going to now take a look at 3 different list builds, or build ideas anyway, that I've come up with for the Ogryns in Necromunda. Now, none of these are including vehicles, I'm afraid. I'll probably will go ahead and do some vehicle included videos later on down the track, pun intended. But for now, we're just sticking with the 1,000 point or 1,000 credit lists that you get in typical Necromunda, I suppose. Now, I've got 3 different sort of ideas here. Now, forgive me if I do occasionally make mistakes with these. I try not to, of course, but I'm not a machine. I'm not perfect. I do try and get these right, though, but I have made mistakes in the past. But if I do, then please do pull me up on it. Comment down below. Say, Damon, that's all wrong. You're a complete liar. That's fine. You know, this is always a work in progress, and I try and get better and better with each video that I do. That said, of course, I would really, really appreciate it if you would go and smash the like, share, subscribe buttons to your heart's content, and of course, do consider Patreon as well if you'd like to support me more directly. Anyway, let's have a look at these 3 lists now for Ogryns. Now, Ogryns are, in Necromunda, they are, how do I say it? They're quite a challenging gang to play at first. I don't think they're a beginner-friendly gang. They're quite linear. There are a few tricks that you can do with these guys, and I'll go into sort of exploiting some of the tricks that you can do with these individual lists, but essentially they can be either incredibly good or incredibly bad, depending on the scenario and depending on the sort of terrain that you've got. So it really does, it's very swingy. They're never kind of in the middle. They're always either very bad or very good in terms of their results in Necromunda. However, you know, if you're not playing competitively, then these guys are excellent. Yeah, they're just really good fun. Great models as well if you can get your hands on the original sort of set of 6 that they released. But now I think you have to buy them in 2s, which is a bit of a drag. Anyway, let's get into it though. I've got 3 ideas here, like I said. The first one is basically my own sort of what I would, if I was to play Ogryns now, this is a sort of similar sort of list build to what I might go with if this was purely me from my own sort of perspective. Now, 1,000 credits here buys me 7 fighters. Now, in an Ogryn gang, that's actually pretty generous. Obviously, these guys are quite expensive. And I've got a nice balance here. This is kind of the list that I would go with for a sort of long-term campaign. It's utilising all of the different positions that you've got in an Ogryn list and giving you a fair bit of, I mean, there is some spam in here, don't get me wrong, but you've got, you know, some different skills in here. And just, yeah, a little bit of variation in terms of longevity for a campaign, which is something you really need to think about, I think. If you are going into quite a long campaign, don't just spam everything and make a really, really samey list. Make sure your champions and your leaders and things like that have got different skills, and just give it a bit of fluff, a bit of narrative, I suppose. Anyway, getting into it, the Overboss, who is by far the best fighter in an Ogryn list, of course. This guy is your leader. He's got fantastic stats, actually. He's got pretty good movement, 5, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 5, strength toughness 5, 3 wounds, initiative 3 up, which is actually really good for a big guy, 3 attacks, and his mental stats are 8, 5, 9, and 8. So terrible willpower. These guys really do fall apart against things like Corpse Grinders and sort of psychic gangs with weirds in them and stuff as well a little bit. But the weapon of choice that we've gone here is just, has to be the paired augmetic fists here, purely for that paired trait. It means that our attacks characteristic is doubled on a charge, so we now suddenly have 6 attacks, which leads to, I don't know, something like 8 to 10 attacks or something when you're actually charging people. They've also got knockback. There's strength +1, meaning that you're strength 6 as well when you're attacking people, meaning that you're wounding toughness 3 targets on 2s and just putting them into mush, really. Damage 2, -1 AP as well. Furnace plates are only, I believe, 5 credits for these guys, so similar to Goliath, so I would always take furnace plates on these guys if possible. The other thing is hazard suits, though. Hazard suits are also pretty good if you don't want your Ogryns being set on fire. If there are lots of, you know, Cordal gangs and stuff in your campaign, then take the hazard suits. If it's not like that and there's not much flame, then take the furnace plates, I would say. Anyway, for skills, we went with Walk It Off. Walk It Off's quite a good one for your overboss. It gives you the opportunity to get rid of flesh wounds and stuff as well. Pretty good, that one. You just got to move to do it, I believe, off the top of my head. But that's your leader. It's 220 credits, which is quite expensive, but it's actually not, hideously more expensive than a lot of other leaders when they're tooled up, that's for sure. You've next got your champions, and we've got 2 of these in this list just to sort of take advantage of the fact that, you want full positionals in this. The first underboss is 175 credits, which is not a lot at all, and here's why. In fact, yeah, it's not a lot really. But we've gone for a las cutter here. A las cutter is a hideously powerful weapon, but it also has an ammo, an ammo and a scarce trait there as well. But it's basically a short range, just a short range las cannon, pretty much. 2-inch versatile, +1 strength. +1 to hit in engagement range. It's strength 9, damage 2, -3 AP, 6 up ammo, like I mentioned, and scarce as well. Furnace plates on this guy, and a skill called Naga, which sometimes, not always, provided you pass the toughness check, lets you do another action. And at the end of that action, you go prone. Pretty good when you've got a las cutter, just means that you can use that when you really, really need to, just to sort of get into engagement range and absolutely toast something. So that's your first underboss for 175 credits. The next one is 190 credits, and this guy is really interesting. I love this build, actually. I've gone for, just to sort of highlight the underboss's stats, actually, compared to the overboss. We've got movement 5, weapon skill 3, ballistics skill 5, so the same there. Strength and toughness 5, wounds 3, initiative 4 up, so the only thing so far that's worse is the initiative. Attacks 2 instead of 3, and then the mental stats here are 8, 7, 9, 9, so just generally a little bit worse for the underboss here, but not, they're still very, very good indeed. This one has got furnace plates. We've gone with blasting charges and incendiary charges, taking full use of that high strength to be able to throw blasting charges 10 inches, and of course incendiary charges we can now chuck those 15 inches. So grenades become very, very scary on Ogryns. Of course, you are sacrificing with the shit ballistic skill of a 5 up, but when you've got a template that's a 5-inch one, like your incendiary charges there, even if you miss, you're still quite often hitting as well. So those are the only weapons I've actually gone for on this underboss. Aside from that, though, we've got a skill called Fists of Steel, which means that your unarmed attacks, I believe, are, +1 strength and 2 damage or something like that. It's pretty good. It suddenly means that you're strength 6 and you've got 2 damage as well. And I believe knockback off the top of my head. I really should do more research on these, but Fists of Steel just means that you can basically have a weapon without actually having to pay for a weapon. So it's quite good. It's quite fluffy. It's quite fun. Plus, I like the idea of just a guy running around with just bare fists. Pretty cool. Anyway, the next part of the gang is made up of 4 fighters. The first one is an Ogryn. Now, he's just your regular Ogryn. He's not a... Now, he's just your regular Ogryn. He is not a Lobo slave at all. You've got 2 types of gangers here. You've got your regular Ogryns, and then you've got your Lobo slaves. But we'll talk about those in a second. This guy, just 1 Ogryn here for 130 credits. This guy comes with a Spud Jacket and a Brute Cleaver. The Brute Cleaver is pretty good. It's +1 to hit in engagement range, and it's -1 AP and disarm. So basically an axe pretty much, without the +1 strength. And then you've got a Spud Jacket as well, which is +1 strength and also has knockback as well. So 2 different weapons there. I just thought I'd give him 2 different options. He's also got furnace plates as well. The stats for the Ogryn are 5, 4, 5, 5, 5, 2, 4, 2, 8, 7, 9, 9. So not great on the mental stats, again, with the really, really terrible willpower, etc. But other than that, lots of wounds, plenty of attacks, and yeah, generally he's going to mulch most things that he gets into combat with. So very much a close combat fighter there. No grenades on him either. Now, the last 3 fighters are all identically armed, I'm afraid. This is a little bit boring, this one, but for 95 credits each, these guys really do pack a punch. The stats for a Lobo slave are as follows. Movement 4, so they're a little bit slower than the rest of the Ogryns. Weapon skill 4, which is average. Ballistic skill 6, but that's fine. Strength and toughness 5. 2 wounds. Initiative 5. 2 attacks. And then there's the mental stats are leadership 5. Cool 5, which is insanely good. A willpower of 10 plus and an intelligence of 10 plus. Terrible for those 2. And we've given these guys 2 axes for 20 credits each. And that's all they really need. We've given them furnace plates as well, just to give them a little bit of armour. But these guys cannot be pinned. They cannot be pinned at all, so they just keep coming. The idea behind these guys is that you just send them forward and then you just chuck grenades, I suppose, with your incendiary charges and blasting charges. And yeah, pretty much it's a pretty straightforward list. It's certainly not amazing, but that's the sort of list that I would go with. And the first sort of things that I would want to buy for this gang, I suppose, is smoke grenades. Smoke grenades are really good for Ogryns because it just means that you can move forwards with the rest of your crew that aren't Lobo slaves and you know, get into position and close the distance, I suppose, with your opponents. But you know, this is a fun list. I like the Las Cutter again, and I like the paired augmetic fists on the leader there as well. You've got a nice little spread of some interesting muscle skills. All three of those skills are actually muscle skills, which are unique to Goliaths and Ogryns. But that is the first list there. We're going to call that Daemon's Dumb Demolition. What are we calling them? Daemon's Dumb Demolition Delinquents. Daemon's Dumb Demolition Delinquents. There you go. So that's that one. Moving on to the second list here, and this one's a bit of a silly, fun one, just to sort of show you what I can do with it. Let's just bring up the gang cards here. We're going to call this one Legion of Lobotomized Labourers. And the list that we've got here includes 10 fighters. Now, 10 fighters for an Ogryn list seems absolutely unreasonable, and it kind of is actually. And I think if you had to actually play this on the table, despite it being incredibly boring and just really stupid, it would probably be pretty powerful actually, because, well, here's why, I suppose. It's pretty nasty actually. So we've got an overboss here, and the overboss in this particular list costs 190 credits. He comes with incendiary charges, which is a nasty big 5-inch template that sets people on fire. We've got furnace plates, and we went for fists of steel like we had on the champion in the previous lists. Giving you a weapon without having to actually buy a weapon. So that is your overboss. The next thing you've got in this list are 9 Lobo slaves, equally armed with just an axe and a hazard suit. And the idea behind this is that it's almost like Night of the Living Dead. You've just got an army of incredibly big, tough zombies that can't be pinned, just walking towards you. You also can't set them on fire either because they've all got hazard suits. So really, really nasty list. Not much more to say about that one. Of course, the more grenades you've got on your leader, the better, I suppose. But yeah, very boring. I would never advise playing this list, but this is what you could do if you really wanted to spam an Ogryn list and make it really ridiculous, is you'd have 9 Lobo slaves with hazard suits and axes. You don't even need the axes, to be honest, but the hazard suits make them even more annoying. And then your leader, you could really just give him anything, I suppose. But I do like the leader with grenades, just sort of hossing them around behind these guys that are all surging forwards very, very slowly. So that's the Legion of Lobotomized Labourers. The last list now we're looking at, and this one again has a sort of key theme here, and we're going to call them the Great Grinning Grenadiers. Yes, that's the Great Grinning Grenadiers. This is a list similar to the first one. It has 7 fighters in it. The leader here, 190 credits, has furnace plates, incendiary charge. I'm not sure what skill I gave him there. In fact, I didn't even give these guys skills because I think I'd probably just take the same as what I did on the first list. But that's your leader, incendiary charge. We've got 2 underbosses also with furnace plates and incendiary charges as well. So that's 3 guys throwing 15-inch, 5-inch blast blaze marker templates. Pretty nasty. We actually haven't gone for any other weapons on these guys. This is really just a list to show you what you can do if you want to build Ogryns as grenade-chucking nutcases. So that's your sort of leadership group, I suppose. An overboss and 2 underbosses with nothing but furnace plates and incendiary charges. Really up to you what you want to do in terms of skills, I suppose. You can go for brawn or you can go for muscle. After that, though, we've got 4 Ogryns. No Lobo slaves in this one, mainly because the Ogryn has a 5-up ballistic skill and the Lobo slave has a 6-up ballistic skill. We've gone for 4 blasting charge chucking Ogryns. Now, blasting charges are particularly nasty as well, but they only get thrown strength times 2 instead of strength times 3 like your incendiary charges. But that does mean with your strength of 5 that you can throw these things 10 inches, which is quite a way away, especially when they are strength 5, 2 damage, -1 AP, knockback, and a 5-inch blast template. So even, like I said, with that shit ballistic skill, which is a 1 in 3, you're still most of the time hitting stuff with a 5-inch blast. It's pretty big. You're just chucking big pizza pies around the table all the time. So that's the Great Grinning Grenadiers. Again, 1,000 points there. Now, I haven't given a huge amount of thought to these lists because with Ogryns, they don't give a huge amount of thought to anything because they're big and stupid. So I thought I'd probably go with the same approach in terms of list building, to be honest. I'd be interested to know what lists you like to choose. Of course, there's more stuff that you can do with augmetics. There is more stuff that you can do with grenades and whatnot. But aside from that, they're not the most interesting gang to build lists with, I don't think. I have played them before, and I've played against them plenty. And I do enjoy playing them, but there's just something that's... I don't know what it is about Ogryns. I just can't get that excited about them anymore, unfortunately. But I know many of you do. So hopefully this gave you some sort of inspiration on what you can do with Ogryns if you haven't played them as well. And that's really it from me. That's the last of these videos. Please do let me know down below in the comments what you thought of that. And also, if you've got any ideas for any more videos that I could do in terms of Necromunda, I'm running out of ideas with the next sort of series of videos that I want to do. I have still got plenty of things on my list, but if there's a particular thing that you'd like me to cover, please do comment down below or send me an email at wellywoodwargaming@gmail.com. Other than that, that's it for me. Peace out.